said let's talk about talking.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, when I first got here, maybe a few months in, I had to do self-forgiveness on resistance to talking to you.
Talking to me.
Yeah,
Why?
resistance, or like I felt like when I was in your presence, I would like get suppressed. Like I was afraid that you would see something, or I don't know. It was just like constricted a little bit. But even with the forgiveness, I didn't get to the core of it, except for that. Um, what I did get to was that you basically often speak what you see, despite etiquette or norms, or, you just say what you see. And I guess, it's like you feel like you're hiding something, and it's like Gian's going to expose it. And maybe I don't want to see it. So, but then you said something the other day, which was that I should use you as my reference point. And after you said that, it almost like eased what I had been feeling, that I even forgot that about that point because it was so long ago. But that reminded me of it. And when you said that, I didn't quite understand, like on a rational level, but something in me was like put at ease. So what did you mean by that?
It's one of the moments where it was needed in that moment. So I saw it and I said it because I could see some sort of switch, confusion. And me and you, since you came here the second time, we've created a nice relationship of just talking. It's kind of like stable because we've now done business together, Earthhaven. Plus, we've done living together. We've done everything together, and it's actually quite stable in all relationships. So that creates a nice cross reference for both of us, not just for me. And that's how I can say or see points with you because I've already had a baseline after a relationship of support. So every time I see something off of you, I can see or feel, that towards me. So then I just check with you, and then I check with me. So it's not like I'm seeing things you're not seeing or understanding things you're not understanding. It's just I I use cross reference, my process, your process, and yeah. So it's like in the moment you have to speak it or hold forever your tongue.
Yeah.
And in that moment, you were, yeah, it was about the moment, just being in the moment, and I could see there was some like a static.
It's funny, Sinette described me while I was driving in the car with Sinette, and it was Lily, and I started to give her a headache, and that is exactly how she described the energy.
Yeah.
She's like, you're thinking, it's not what you're thinking about, it's the way that you're thinking is like a static energy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I saw, and because of that, I knew that we've already created quite like an anchoring point. So I anchored you with me to release the static, and so that you can just have a little bit of clarity, like a window, a moment.
Yeah.
And yeah.
What I took away from it was, okay, when you start to feel that resistance around Gian, then I know that something's up with me.
Yes.
And at first I was like, it's you. Like Gian's distracted, or Gian's, thinking or stressed about something. But then I was like, oh, maybe I should look at myself when something's up between Gian and I'm having a reaction or anything moving. And so it was like a practical application that I could do. But do you have other things that you use like that as cross references?
Yeah, obviously I use my whole reality like that, physical reality. So I check my sleeping, I check my food eating, I check my behaviors, and I use people mostly because it's with people that you create relationships with, and every relationship is dependent on who you are. So if you have a fear towards someone, or a inferiority towards someone, or suppressing yourself, or if you change complete character when someone else comes in your environment. So I just use everyone as a cross reference for my process, nothing to do with them. When I have backchat, uh, when I feel uncomfortable around someone, when I know it's not about them because I'm feeling it. So I use everyone like that. Some of the processes takes years because it's literally based on design. So even if you feel like, I need to stand up because I cannot keep feeling inferior around this person, so I need to take them on, I need to challenge them, then there's problems in yourself if you feel that you have to change someone else. So whenever I have moments like that coming up towards anyone on the farm, or even just going to town and meeting new people, so I use everything and everyone like that. But with certain people, I have more of a comfortability to be more intimate with these points than with other people. And yeah, with Layla, it's easy. We've been together 10 years, so we can just talk about anything. But then the problem there is it becomes too normal, meaning there's no more like new challenges or interaction. So it becomes more a self-responsibility.
Yeah.
But with new people coming in, or new people staying, or new people joining in, whatever, it's like to develop a second relationship like that, comfortability and so on, within process points. It's pretty cool because then you have a second reference.
Yeah.
That's what I enjoy. Because once things become just me and Layla, I know I can lose myself and Layla can lose herself. So that becomes dangerous. So you need to break out of that. And you need to find someone else, if necessary, to have a physical cross-reference with your points. And I mean, it takes years to develop that relationship with someone where you are completely comfortable, talk about anything, everything, and it's not a reaction, it's not emotional, it's nothing. And when you're in a relationship, those emotional points still come up because it's still like more personal, because it's about each other. But if I can find someone outside to just talk to and so on, it's not emotional, it's not personal, it's process, it's support. And that's what I learned from Bernard. Like, he just checked everyone and everyone checked with each other, when he was here. So he would just keep doing that. And
when you say relationship, you mean like agreement, like
romantic
relationship?
No. When I said,
or do you mean just two people?
two
friends,
people, yeah, just two people, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see that confusion. Yeah, I've already diffused the word relationship years ago. To me, relationship means people, not like intimate and
just
sexual.
two or more people interacting or in a relationship with each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're always in a relationship with everyone. Doesn't matter if you're in a relationship, like in the same house, the same car, the same marriage documents, and all those blah 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 things. Doesn't matter who you interact with in your reality, it's a relationship. And yeah, to acknowledge that first and foremost, makes it easier. Then you have an agreement with one of these people in your reality, with whom you do certain things with and enjoy certain things with. That's why it's an agreement. Because in society, you have a relationship, which is a relationship like partners. And then who's the rest? Friends, family, that's also relationships. But because we don't define it on the same level, we use it differently instead of seeing it all as the same. And that's how I have changed relationship.
So one of the just talking about having a reaction when you're with others, um, when somebody's like seems stressed out or rushing or something like that, or in a bad mood, uh, I tend to want to just like stay out of their way. You know, I become quiet. But I've seen like I'm changing. Like I wouldn't normally be that way if they were seeming comfortable and at ease and, you know, moving slow. And that's when I wrestled with too, as it being about only me. Because I was like, well, that person's stressed out, so, you know, I don't want to trigger anything or like make it worse or, you know, so I'm just going to step back.
Yeah, I have the same, but that's where, see, first of all, when I experienced that, it's still about me because I'm changing.
Yeah, that's why it keeps lingering with me, because
Yeah,
I know I'm changing and I should remain constant.
yeah. So what I first do is I check myself, and let's say I wake up in the morning, and the first thing I see is someone moody, someone looking grumpy and not wanting to talk or miserable even because whatever has happened. Then my first reaction is, oh no, you know, I don't want to be here now. I don't want to interact with this person. But then I breathe, and I even let go of that voice that said, oh no, I don't want to be here. And I just move as me then, regardless of whoever is feeling what. So I will go sit down, I'll have my coffee, and I'll just be quiet. Maybe I don't need to say anything, but I'll first just be here instead of trying to do something or be something or go into something. So my first response is just be here, because in that moment I changed a little bit, so I can't trust myself. So I cannot go now and try want to find out why are you moody, because then the starting point is I want to change the experience for myself, which is
Yeah.
self-interest. So I don't take that approach at all. I'd rather just quiet myself and don't participate in any of my behaviors, my backchat, or in the other person's. I'm just here now.
Yeah.
I'm not interfering with reality, and then things open up usually as they should, if they should. It's living in the present, so it's a present. Gonna open it and find out. Don't go and poke holes in the present to find out what's inside.
Yeah, because like when I get into that energetic possession of stressed and like, oh my god, I got to get to the next thing. And if somebody approaches me when I'm in that, especially if it's somebody who's like talkative and who, you know, like sparks up conversation, and I know it's going to be a while. Not you.
I didn't think it's me. I usually read these things okay.
um, but like, so if I'm in that energetic possession and somebody crosses my path and engages with me, I just like get this like overwhelming, like, oh my god, I can't be here right now, but I don't want to be like, I can't talk, you know, I gotta keep moving. And so I just sit there in that, in like the energy that's now just amplified because like now I'm not moving. And so when I see someone else in that possession of rushed, and I don't want to trigger that in them.
Yeah, because you understand yourself.
Yeah, but that's more me.
Yeah, but that's the point. Is we do not judge lest ye be judged. So you really judge yourself. So you project your judgment onto everyone else and who they might be then. But in your mind, it is the way they will be. So you're not going to interfere because now you're abusing do unto others as you would like to be done unto. That means you're now allowing, for example, your judgment to already determine who they will be and what they will be and how they will be. And so what you're doing unto them is you're placing yourself onto them.
Yeah.
So you won't interact because you fear your own reactions, your own, you fear yourself. So in the end, that's why I say what I've learned is let go of both sides, my side and whatever my mind is interpreting of what I'm seeing or hearing. And then I still walk here, because in that way I'm catching myself and I'm catching whatever else is happening, and then I let it go. So I'll just be here, breathe, do my physical, practical things, and move practical, physical, and then people tend to open up, and they naturally just also maybe through that here-ness support let go of their shit. uh, that's what I've learned.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yes. So
So, what's one of your like triggers that is difficult when you're like in interactions or in relationships with others?
I think what is the most difficult for me is everyone has their way of doing things. Doesn't matter what it is. It can be how you work in the workshop. It can be how you make breakfast. It can be how you work with money. It can be how you plan your things. Everyone's got a different method. And some people I find is very self-righteous and authoritative in how they've been doing it. So there's no gap for newness or your perspective. That's the experience of
Okay.
when I experience that. And then that's where I tend to react a lot. Like, someone will tell you, this is the way it works. This is the way it's always worked. This is how you do it. And then you who have had a new idea or a different idea, it's like being resisted or fought or, so that's my challenge that I face a lot. And
So,
react
how
to.
do you deal with it? Or are you still working with it?
Yeah, and I'm still working with that. So, yeah, the thing there is you have to watch out for also then not wanting to be flexible, because now you have a new and different way and a different perspective, and you might not have the same fears as the other person, and fear is usually how we tend to plan things, direct things, do things in our reality, because we're protecting certain fears. And let's say you don't have the same fears as me and I don't have the same fears as someone else, so we do things differently. you know and then it's like, if you remove all fear between people, what's the possibilities then of coming together and doing things in a way that works, instead of keeping things the same way out of fear?
It's that's kind of like, it reminds me of the recording that Marduk did, where he knew he could do it really well and by himself, and he wanted to do it really well and by himself. And his biggest challenge was opening up to working with people and working with a group. But he found that when he did, it's like the outcome was so much more full, like more dynamic,
Yeah.
because it was a result of a group working together instead of just one person with their way, even if they could do it like the best according to whatever measure.
Yeah. So that's one of the points. Another point that I struggle with is when I'm learning something new, or I'm embarking on something new in my own personal life and capacity, and other people has already been doing it or has already done it, and their way is imposed immediately onto you, and you don't get the opportunity or the the freedom, if you want to call it that, to learn and see what's actually here and how it actually works. So, and it's all 9 points, because even though that's what I believe of other people, it's still just a belief, because you don't actually know. You're just going based on how they talk to you and how you interpret that.
Yeah.
How you take that. So someone might not even be imposing, but you're experiencing it that way. So this is the points that I'm dealing with, to let go always of my reactions, of my internal points before I communicate with the other being again or directly. Yeah, because what tends to happen if I don't clear it, there's a lot of fighting, a lot of reactions. So that's unnecessary, because I know it's not going to lead anywhere good, because I wasn't clear. And that's my cross reference, which is my self honesty. To be honest with myself, is I wasn't clear. I was emotional. I was judgmental. I was in a projection. I was in a character. I was in a personality, state of personality. I was possessed by fear, anxiety, or self righteousness, or pride, or So that's my self honesty, and then I know if I speak from that point, that any energy, doesn't matter who it is or what point it's about, then it's not gonna lead anywhere good. So the challenges is to, I wouldn't say find a balance, but it's not a balance. It's more like just be here and not emotional. Then you can talk about anything without taking it personal. It's the point of taking things personal that bothers me.
Yeah.
I don't want to take things personal because it's not personal. It shouldn't be personal. I want to move things, direct things, I want to get things done. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Not have personal stuff the whole time.
Yeah, it's funny. I faced that point of wanting to share my idea and immediately someone saying no because they have like a way to do it their own way. And I reacted, but only like I kept it to myself, like I didn't speak from the reaction. I just worked with it. And it's been several times now in different situations where I'll say my idea, and when there's a no, I'll just assess, like, okay, is this something important to push, or can I just drop it? And then I'll make a decision, like I can just drop it, or no, I'm actually going to push it unemotionally, just practically, like, well, this is my idea because, and I'll give my reasons and whatnot. And I found that when I become emotional about it and push it from that starting point, it's almost like it's more resisted and shut down. Whereas if I explain it, and then even if it's still a no, just drop it. Like I feel like I've said everything I can about what I looked at with my idea. And what I noticed was a handful of times since I've been practicing it is that like way later on, the person would consider it.
Okay. Somewhere planted a seed.
Yeah, because it wasn't coming from that. Like I didn't speak from my emotions. I just spoke from just practical reality. I did take it personally, but I took self-responsibility for that, and just presented the practical reality points, and that was heard. Whereas when I would get defensive and kind of fight for my idea from that starting point, it was just a winless battle.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, what's the hard part is to not make it emotional, even if you know you're gonna speak about it again, to make sure there's no emotion.
Yeah.
I know, man.
But you can give yourself a moment. Like I was so emotional, I was actually shocked. My body was like shaking because I was in such a reaction. And
yeah, those ones.
Yeah. Yeah, deep point. But I was able to present the same idea I would have presented, but just not in that reaction.
Yeah.
Just waiting, giving time, looking at why am I reacting? And
I think the point that I've realized over and over many times is that everyone is actually in the same position in terms of life. Like everyone's kids, and to survive or to live or to function, we have to impose these adult rules onto ourselves of how things should work to work. And when we do want to communicate with each other and be playful, that playfulness isn't here because we're just repeating what the parent repeated, what the parent said, how the parent said it should be.
Parent sounds like parrot.
Yeah, like parrots. So the playfulness it's always like this serious tone to things, and how each person do their things, and how each person has approached life and succeeded to a degree, and so and now you have a bunch of people coming together. Doesn't matter if it's over the internet, if it's in person, where it is. It's like always this tone of seriousness, and that seriousness creates just a right wall to activate characters and personalities to deliberately prevent actual communication, actual talking, to become playful and to learn new things. Because your parents, obviously that's how parents work, so parenting work is to instill fear into a child of how things should be done to survive, because that's the initial love of a parent, is fear, because they fear for your life in this world system. So they have to love you so much that they just imprint fear. And I think that's the challenge to why it's so important for each one to take self-responsibility first, is because then you can realize that it's lies, and then we can start seeing with real eyes.
What do you mean it's lies?
The way we want to keep doing things the way we've always done it, and not to be open, based on your
being in the characters,
based on your experience of wanting to present something new, and how you first have to go through this wall, and this defensive wall that everyone has up. That's the point I'm bringing up, is everyone's got a defensive wall to protect the way they've been doing things. So when you hit that wall, you go back, you check yourself, you check what's wrong, and as you say, later on it comes through, because you have to first chip through the wall. And also understanding it that way, it's not personal, even though it feels like it. It feels really hectic. Like, this is all about me now. It's all about the other person. We hate each other now. We're fighting each other now. There's no conflict. There's war. But in the meantime, it's just those like safety firewalls that parents have put up, and that the children just lives out in a serious mood. So my point is, what I've experienced with this type of seriousness that people have in how they talk about certain topics or certain things, that's not the person. That's the firewall speaking. Because it has to keep a certain level of responsibility to survive. Well, it's guised as responsibility.
But it's fear.
But it's fear.
Yeah, it's funny, the example that I gave you, and the idea that came to fruition like way later on, it wasn't completely my idea, and it wasn't completely their idea. It was like this emerged new different thing.
Yes, I think that's the thing with living this reality, that everyone's got their point of doing things, how they do things, and that's the point I deal with a lot, because for me it's just, I wish I can just give my point, and people can actually take the time to understand it and see it from my point of view. But then am I willing to see it from their point of view equally? So yeah, then I have to remove my defense wall, which is, I will, for example, resist, be a rebel against a certain program, because my parents programmed me that way. If someone does something a certain way, I'll rebel against it. And I'll be like, but why, Gian? Why are you rebelling? Just stop, man. Just breathe. And then you're really in the reaction, in the character. Yeah, so that's my challenges, basically. These points. Especially also because I have to communicate with a lot of people. I have to talk to a lot of people, move a lot of points. Yeah. So I'm facing myself, which is cool. Because if you want to change the world, you're gonna have to be a new human being, completely different.
Yeah, it's funny. Some of my most fundamental realizations in the way I was doing things that you supported me with was never you telling me directly. It was always like a showing, Like, I can't even really put my finger on it. It's like a couple of times I've come to realizations on my own, and you were like, either like, finally, or you realized it on your own. And I had no idea that you were like looking at this point way whenever far back. But it was because you gave me room to kind of see.
And also what I've learned is that with the firewall point, and what Bernard did and how he supported me personally, he'd always tell me stories, or show me in moments, real-time moments. He'll never make it direct at me, because my design is rebellion. Like that's how I was growing up. I rebelled against the system, my parents. I rebelled against everything that was system. So Bernard obviously could see this and knew this. So he'll show up and he'll just start telling me a story. Where he'll tell me, "Look at that," and then I'll be like, "Okay, yeah, interesting." A month, 2 months later, it's like, "Oh, look at that, Bernard," and then Bernard's like, "Mm-hmm." Oh shit! Oh, wait a minute. He talked about this.
Yeah.
But I forgot.
Yeah.
But then it comes to myself. So when I do see people with points or things, I will sit down, I'll tell a story, or I'll talk about a story, or I'll give an example, or I'll, I'll go into, instead of facing the person and their resistance and being all like, "No, I'm challenging you and you better face yourself because I'm pointing your stuff out." Instead of taking that route, I've realized that I can just share, you know, and I like doing it. I like telling your story or giving you something when I could see it will be supportive. So it's not like secret. It's just, I think a lot of people can do this. It's just, are you willing to do it?
Yeah, because it takes a lot more time.
It takes time to sit and give time to someone, talk to someone, tell a story, and so that's what I was given, and that supported me a lot.
But when you do it that way, the person then realizes it on their own. Yeah. And that's way more impactful and unforgettable than if you're just presented like the knowledge and information and you see it and you realize, but like you didn't do it on your own.
Yeah.
So I feel like you can lose that.
That's the point. That it is, yeah. Because that's how I learned personally, realizing it on your own. So there's, yeah, I've never found telling someone straight up their points work. Rather tell a story, because then the person isn't it's the actual being coming through and listening to the story. Yeah, oh, this is pretty cool. The character is gone because the characters and personalities is to defend, and when you don't give them anything to defend, then they won't show up, and then you can just cross through all of it, and then it can become a self-realization instead of someone told you so.
Even though that's what we seem to want, we just want somebody to point it out and tell us direct and save the time and be more efficient.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like Bernard had that skill.
Yeah.
And he could do it with certain people, but it's dependent on your ability to how you process information. And if someone approaches you very direct, it's possible, you can instantly see and realize. But it also depends 100% on who that person is.
And their starting point.
And their starting point. Yeah, so you need either someone that's pure as fuck and they can just do it, like what Bernard did, and he could see and understand every being absolutely, one and equal, then yeah. But I know I'm not there. I know I can tell stories because I see a point in this person or in that person or in this and that person, and I can support and assist through telling a story or sitting down and talk about random stuff. Like I'll just wander into someone's room, sit down and start talking, because earlier today I saw, oh shit, I need to help this person because I've seen myself walk this point, I've walked this point, I understand this point, so I'm going to sit down and tell you my story or share something with you. Although I still need to learn how to do that in blogs and vlogs the same way I do it in person.
Yeah.
Because my writing and so on is not yet as expressive and the same as in person. Because I use my body a lot, showing things, how I move, how I stand. And on a blog, I cannot do that.
Yeah, you gotta do that in words.
Yeah. Yeah, so that is my points.
Yeah.
Patience.
Yeah.
It's one of my points because reality moves slow. And in learning to be patient, I have to also learn to not wonder. Patience should be like just being in darkness for a moment, and then it's here. Doesn't matter how long that darkness takes. Patience shouldn't be, let me occupy my time with crap and bullshit and go into thinking and wondering and all the other stuff. And then before you know it, you missed the moment.
Yeah.
You're like, oh crap. Because that's not patience, that's rushing it to think.
That's what happened when I was thinking, and I had the static energy point, and it was like I was trying to figure out the answer, but it just in trying to chase the answer was not seeing it,
Yeah.
and I just had to stop and let it go, and just let it emerge naturally with with in its own time with whatever I had to go through.
Yeah. So patience. We're not getting younger, so you're like, okay, what is patience then? Is patience got to do with my lifetime, with my time? I can die tomorrow. So what is patience? Patience is just here, I suppose. To be a patient of time. Or to be patient, pave the ones. 1 plus 1 plus 1. So yeah, what did we talk about? Lots of things.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm satisfied. I mean, we could go on forever, but all right, cool. Thanks again.
Cool, Kim.